Hi everybody, this is Lainey at Hilltop Home Place. I'm here, that's my mom's cabin that has been put on our property that we are getting ready for her to move into. I sometimes jump into the videos and I don't really recap things to consider people that have never seen any of these videos before. I just kind of progress sometimes as I go along and I forget that some people might not know what the heck we're doing. We had a shed conversion done. This is just a storage type shed like you could get off the lot, but we had it built out as a cabin shed conversion for our mom to live in, calling it a tiny home. Sometimes I call it a cottage, a cabin. Anything could come out of my mouth. I look at it as all kind of different words like that, just cabin, cottage, tiny home, shed, whatever. But it's for her to live in her retirement, I guess you would say, but she's been retired for a while. But my dad passed away years ago. She's been living in her home for 54 years. We talked to her a while back around Christmas or so, and we talked about maybe doing something like this, putting a cottage shed on our property, mine and my husband's. We live about 30 something miles from her, about putting a cottage on our property that she could come live in so that she would be closer to us. It's not as close as she was to my sister, but it's definitely an easier drive to get here from my sisters. My sister's not going into traffic, into town, red lights and everything. She's going more rural if she comes this way. So it's kind of easing a burden for everyone. I think our mom was getting a little tired of being alone all day in her house, in a different town from everybody, away from grandkids and things like that. So it's actually just for our situation, which I can't really delve into every little detail of the decision, but for our situation, this is working out for us. And so this is what we're doing. That's it behind me. I'll give another little run through in a minute to show you some of the things we got accomplished under it and in it, because the plumbers came this week. But I wanted to just make a statement. Everybody has been wonderful and kind in the comments and everything. Lots of questions, lots of ideas. I appreciate so many people trying to put themselves into living in this cottage and giving us advice on what they would want or need, or maybe they already have one and they found out what works and what doesn't work, and so they've shared that information with us. And I have really loved the comments. I've went through them and I'm going to go through them again to just make sure that something that I might have thought was a great idea, that we actually end up doing it. Sometimes you forget as things go on, but I'm going to go back through the comments to make sure that we include everything. But everybody's been wonderful, but one person basically said I was scaring them to death with all this information about how this works to get all this accomplished, and that they were just going to scratch doing this off their list and that it was a nightmare. And I was not offended at all. That's their opinion. I'm not offended at all. But it made me wonder, am I giving too many details to where it might scare somebody from doing this? I don't know. However, I'm not going to check up and stop what I'm doing, because the reason that I wanted to film a lot of this with her cottage coming is because if anybody else might think that they have the ability to get this done for their parents or for any other situation, and know that there's options besides assisted living, besides nursing homes. If it's for someone else, it might be an option besides rent, going to an apartment, when you might could do something like this to maybe help the parents out and the child out. Lower rent, maybe the parents could have an income. So there's lots of reasons where you might want to do some type of extra building on your property and get it fixed up, livable, permitted, get lights cut on, and accomplish a goal maybe for you and for the other person, for everybody in your family if things work out. That's why I wanted to give all the details, because a lot of projects will bog down in the details. You think you have enough money to go put down on something or to get a part of the project done, and you think the rest of it's just going to take care of itself out of your paycheck each week or something. And not a lot of times does that work out. The money does not go as far as you think. So you have to think about these things ahead of time. And maybe by us telling you everything that goes wrong in this process, the things that go right, but also the things that go wrong, it'll just kind of keep you aware of the scope of it so that you don't step out and end up falling through a crack because you don't have enough money to finish that project. And then you've already put money down, you've already invested some money in it, and you can't finish it. Because there's a lot of things that go on in these projects. The numbers change, and you have to kind of keep up with it. You have to stay on top of it. And you just have to do a lot of planning in the beginning as much as possible, so that when you're going into this, you understand how it's going to work. And you understand that you may end up paying a little more here, a little more here. Maybe you get something cheaper though. So it's a budget. I've worked the budget this whole time, and I'm able to look at it every time I pull up that spreadsheet, and I'm able to see how far ahead we are, how far behind we are. And it's kept us on track. I think it's kept my mental thinking on track to see that, yes, we've had some blips. Yes, we've had some more expenses, but it's not horrible. Everything is doing fine, and we're still on track. Let me show you what we got done this week, but I just wanted to recap that to show you kind of why I'm doing these videos, why I want to show the project from start to finish. So let's go see what we got done this week. We had the plumbers come, we got a meter pole, a couple other things in the house. I just want to show them to you. 2 weeks ago, we had Tropical Storm Arthur. It dumped a bunch of rain down here in Louisiana and other parts too. A lot of people got bad rain. And so the plumbers could not come that week. So they had told me they were going to come the week after that, which was last week, but they never came. I don't want to scare anybody to death, but I was getting worried. And so I was texting and trying to get kind of a timeline. I'm just seeing something here. A big piece of chain metal that's in our dirt. Wow, I'm going to move that before my lawnmower finds that. Throw that over there. I was trying to get a timeline from him on when he thought he could come, and he just didn't definitively answer me. So I was starting to get really worried. So they did come this week. It wasn't Monday though, so I was worried again Monday, but they did come this week. And there's just all kind of stuff done up under there. I don't know how to show it all to you, but it's all done up under there. They're coming back because what they did was they cut our pipe here, they capped it on this side, and then they filled the whole system with water. And then they'll come back after our inspection and take this cap off and then tie it in right here. They also put in a drain from our mini splits, the interior, down through a pipe where that water will run through our system and drain out. He said that's so it won't just sit here and drop down and drip down and cause erosion or whatever. So I appreciated them doing that. This is all the work under our sink with a washout, and there's also a washout on the back. I want to reiterate that I was so glad when I saw them show up this week. It just means our project is moving that much closer to being done. It was so good to have them come and to get all this taken care of. They are very skilled workers. These people want to do it themselves to save money. I understand that. But a lot of times it helps to pay somebody that knows what they're doing, brings the equipment, and can get it done. They dug the trenches for our electrician to run the conduit. Well, they actually ran it and backfilled it, but it helps him out on his end. That trench was huge, so it helps him out to have that dug for him and all that conduit put in. And they have what they need. It is a skilled job and they make good money, but it's not an easy job. And it's a dirty job, especially after the rain we've had here lately. So I was glad to have them, and it took a load off my mind to get this going this week. And then we could move on to the meter pole and other things. In these buildings, or at least our building, none of the plumbing is in the wall. Well, the only thing that's in the wall is the hot and cold water coming through the Tyvek little tubes that, and they will route underneath and go to the regular water that goes away in your drain. But all the other plumbing is going straight out the bottom of the cabin and routing to all those pipes that are underneath, and it'll all go out of the back towards the sewer, however all that discharges. It all joins up into one trunk line, I know that, and it's going to go out towards our sewer system. It'll go through my MODAD system, and then it'll eventually get sprinkled out into my yard through my sprinkler system. And things like that you need to know. It might be boring, sewer might not be your thing, water lines might not be your thing and all, but you need to know how things are going to work in these cabins, because like when our inspector was talking to our plumber on the phone the other day, the inspector was talking as if everything was in the wall, and he wanted the plumber to do certain things so that he would be able to know there were no leaks in the wall. And the plumber was like, no, everything's under the trailer. He said, there's nothing in the walls. And the inspector was like, oh, okay. So they got on the same page with it. So it helps. And I want to hear stuff like that because I want to know how it all works too. I know now there's nothing in the walls really. That tankless hot water heater sits against one of the side walls. And I guess there's lines that go down from it, but they go straight down through the bottom of the cabin. But everything else, other than just the hot and cold water that are feeding into your faucets, everything else goes straight down some pipes to the bottom of the cabin and is routed out that way. So if I ever need to call somebody to come do anything or fix anything, or if I'm doing any type of winter preparations for cold or anything like that, I know what I'm dealing with. So that's good things to know. Don't want to scare anybody, but you got to know things like that when you're building these things or having these things put on your property. You have to know the whole scope of everything. I did a video the other day about a room with a view and told you I was going to try to fix up my mom's backyard and make it look a whole lot better so that people who looked out of the window right behind me, which is in her den, would have a beautiful view when they looked out here to at least a decent looking backyard. And I was going to weed all the grass that was growing way up onto this limestone and take care of a lot of things. And I did that. I got out here in 3 or 4 sessions and weeded all this footage. It's about 50 or 60 feet here. I weeded all of it and got this grass under control. And then they came with their bobcat. I envisioned this as just having a little skinny trench dug across this yard. I did not envision this much dirt work. I just didn't. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's kind of, it's overwhelming. So as I stand here looking out this view, looking at this yard that I was going to get all nice and neat before her company started coming, I'm overwhelmed suddenly. There's roots to pick up, there's dirt clods everywhere, there's no grass hardly at all. There's a big wide swath of dirt I wasn't expecting, and I just don't know. I think I'm scaring myself to death right now. Maybe I better hush because I'm actually wanting to run from this project on my own. Let's go on in the house and I'll show you just a little bit of what we've gotten done. I hung her curtains up the other day. I ordered 2 panels for this window, and that's all we need for that window because of that mini split above it. We have plantation shutters that are there. They're right there right now, but we don't have them drooping down right now. But they're gonna go there. For this window, I wasn't thinking I ordered 2 curtains, but I have 2 more on order because I really need 4 there to make that a full curtain thing. We also have plantation blinds there. They're open right now though. But anyway, that'll kind of settle her curtain situation right now. And I think they look good. I like the bronze bars. All that we're happy with. It's no problem. She got all her faucets hooked in there under her sink. Thank goodness for that. Same with her bathroom sink. It just feels so good to get these things crossed off the list. I came in here yesterday and started putting up her grab bars. I put one on the little wall between her vanity and her shower. And it's just a smaller bar, but I think it's appropriate for this little area right here. I put another one that's longer just to the left of her shower. And I put it like that because she had talked about wanting to put a little stool or chair right here that she could sit in when she got out of the shower. If she wanted to sit down to finish drying off or got a little tired or something, she wants a chair there. So I put this low enough to where if she needed to turn around and grab the bar to help her stand up or something, she could. That was my thinking. Now right here will be the washer and dryer. She also could kind of reach out and steady herself on that if she needed to. It'll be a top-loading washer, so she'll have that flat surface there. She could kind of put an elbow on if she needed to or something. It comes up at an angle and then goes up to the dryer at the top, but that flat part on the washer could always kind of help her too. By her toilet, I went ahead and put in a horizontal bar, a kind of long one there. She can kind of put her arm and her elbow on that to get her up. But I also decided to put another vertical one there. I don't know, my gut was just telling me to go ahead and put something vertical there in case she needed it. Like, say, if you push yourself up with your elbow and you're trying to stand up, maybe having something extra there might help a little bit. That was just my thinking. We haven't put anything in the shower yet. I did try one of the suction cup ones that I bought, and it fell off pretty quickly. I'm not sure about those. I'm really not sure. Some people recommended them, and some people said no. So I don't really know. But we need to figure out a little something to go in here. But I think I'm going to let my brother-in-law maybe think about that and worry about that, and we'll see, what we can come up with. He got her shelf put up in her closet above her rack for her clothes. So that is done. We may end up adding another shelf or something down here. She's got some furniture, like a little chest, vanity chest thing she wants to put there. So we need to kind of see how she wants to trick out the inside of this later. But this right here will get us started. While everybody else is celebrating the 4th of July, I'm probably going to be in here building these shoe shelves that go along this wall in her closet, along this door. I've got all the wood outside. I've got the measurements made. It's just a matter of getting it done. And I just wanted to kind of stay out of the plumber's way in all the last few days, but we're fixing to get that done. Also, I went ahead and put up these brackets above her window. They're white, and I thought the white would just be better against the cabinets. Just kind of leave it white. But I built a shelf to go across the top, and then it's got a 2-inch trim piece across the front of it so that it won't just look like the 1x12 board that it is. It'll look like it's a little more finished. And we bought some stain to stain it, and then I'll put it up there and we'll secure it really well. I'll probably put some polyacrylic on it as well. But that'll give her, it'll be right at the edge of this window, and it'll give her a good 12 inches or so above that window. I think it's the roof slope, so she'll have even more than that, to put some crocks or things that are just decorative that she doesn't need to reach, but that'll give her more room to put some of her things. The last thing I wanted to show y'all coming back outside is we got the meter pole put up today. We got the meter pole put up. I don't know how tall they are. I can't really remember, but it had to go 4 feet in the ground. And my son and his friend put it in today. The friend has like a little side business. He's a fireman, but on the side, he has a little meter pole business. So these kids these days, everybody wants to talk about these kids these days. I'm telling you what, some of them are good and some of them are very handy. So he's got, I guess, everything the electrician needs. He and the electrician, I think, communicated through me about a few things, and he's got everything he needs. I wanted to point out something with this, though, that it might help somebody in the future, because it sure cost me some money when I didn't know about it before. Let me tell you what it is. You see this plain gray meter box here? Well, it's got a cover on it, and there's a little thing at the bottom, and you open it up, and that's how you get to your breakers and everything. But in most places, where I live for sure, absolutely for sure, and I know this for sure, your meter box has to have a cover on it before you can get your lights turned on and get everything finally inspected. Now that makes sense. You certainly don't want rain and all going into a hot, meaning electrified meter box, I'm sure. But what happened was, when we were putting this trailer on this property, this was our meter pole that was already here from the previous owners. It was already here, and it had a decked out meter box and everything was good to go. Somebody came by one day and stole the cover off of it. They stole this cover right here. And I saw it, when I came out here, I realized the cover's gone. What I didn't know was how much trouble it was to deal with it. It turns out that, at least for me, it was very hard to find just a cover to fit this exact meter box. A lot of places just sell meter boxes, the whole box, which is $300 and something. And I kept thinking, well, I just need the cover. I don't need the whole box. I don't want to pay that much. But after calling many, many electrical places, going to the Home Depots everywhere, talking to people, I even had a guy offer to fabricate me one out of some sheet metal, but that was going to cost a few $100s. So I finally was just told by somebody, you would do better just to get a whole new meter box. Just get a whole new meter box, but then steal your cover out of that box and put it on your old meter box. So that's what I did. I had to open the box that I paid $300 something for, take the cover out, we put it on this box, and then the whole rest of the meter box is just sitting in my storage shed now for no reason. I mean, I guess it's good to have spare parts, but really and truly it was a lot of money because somebody came to my property and decided to make something of mine theirs. So today, while my son was here, he came inside to get a tape measure to measure and make sure they were going 4 foot deep. I told him, I said, look, I'm gonna give you a padlock. Will you please put that at the bottom of the meter pole? And he was like, yeah, why? And I told him, I said, because, you know, they stole our other one. And I said, if somebody sees this from the highway and says, oh, a new meter pole, they might come and try to take it. And I'm saying that from experience, not trying to scare anybody. I'm just saying that from experience. Because if they have an old meter pole at their house that had the cover taken off of it, but they need to get hooked up for lights for their new build, and they don't have $300 laying around to go buy a whole new meter box just to steal the cover out of it, sometimes people go take another one. That's what happened to me. And I don't want to scare people about that, but I do think if I say things like this in the videos to warn you of things that can happen, it may save you some trouble later. You can't be on your property all the time. You can't watch everything, and you can't always prevent people from coming and pilfering in your stuff, especially if you leave tools out or boards out during these builds. Sometimes things leave. So remember this. Try to put you a little lock on there and keep things safe, because you just don't know what's going to happen. When I went to my Azure pickup yesterday, I was talking to a lady that I buy honey from. I buy it for my son, but I get it from her. And I told her my son was going to be coming tomorrow to put up a meter pole so I could give him the honey when he came. And she said, what are you putting a meter pole up for? And I said, well, you know, and I told her about the cottage build and everything. And she said, oh, I have questions. And she started asking me all kind of questions. Now, she lives here in Louisiana with me, but she lives in a different parish, so we're not dealing with the same people, the same permit office. And she started asking me, how is it going in your parish? What are they trying to make you do for this and that? What has happened is she has an older home on their property, I believe. It used to be her grandfather's. He had passed away. She's continued to pay the electric bill and all, but now they kind of want to fix the place up. But she's finding out from people that before she does this or that, she might need to get permitting in order to permanently put the light bill in her name. He's passed away, so she's kind of wanting to transfer utilities into her name and to get the place really fixed up. But they really won't do that when a new owner takes over. They want to make sure everything's up to par before they do that. So she's scared a little bit. She's like, I feel like we're going to open a can of worms. We just want to kind of get in there, do some work, fix it up. We know we had some wiring put in there a while back. We know he's got fairly decently new meter boxes. We know a lot about it, and we know it's safe, but the parish may not know it's safe. And she said, we just feel like we're going to be opening a can of worms. I understand what she's saying. Anytime you're dealing between yourself and a government agency, there's just a lot of red tape. It's for safety a lot of times. It's for good reasons. I'm not saying it's not. But it can cause you stress because it seems to tick up the amount that you're going to owe, the amount, the build or the shed conversion, the movement to your property, whatever. She's fixing up an older home that's already there, but just trying to make it look better and more livable, maybe even a little more modern. And it opens a can of worms. And so these projects can be scary. These projects can cause stress, and they can empty your pockets a lot of times. It's worth it in the long run. You have to run numbers. You have to know your own limits and your own finances, your own talents, your own ability to handle the stress of dealing with contractors coming and going, people maybe not showing up when you want them to, work not getting done just perfectly. Things can get handled, but there is stress sometimes, and it can be scary sometimes, and there can be a lot of pressure. But I just want to let you know that if you think it through beforehand, you really plot out your course, try to think of everything that you can, make sure your finances are in place, whether you're getting a loan or using the sale money from another house or whatever. Make sure your money is kind of accounted for. Do a budget as good as you can, and you may have to scale back to meet that budget, but be willing to do that if you're reaching a goal of getting what you want out of it. Are you wanting to get debt free? Are you wanting to downsize and not have as much to manage? Are you wanting to get a parent closer to you so that you can all live a little more peacefully rather than be all spread out and not be able to take care of each other as well? Whatever your goal is, figure all that out. Run the numbers, figure it out. And then don't be scared to move forward, because if you're going to be achieving a goal, even though the journey might be a little bit bumpy, you'll be happy in the end. I hope that helps, and I hope that makes somebody feel better. I appreciate y'all watching me. Please like and subscribe if you will, and just keep following this journey as we try to get my mom moved in, maybe in the next few weeks. Y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.